Hi, my name is July, and I'm a tutor at the San Jose State University Writing Center. Today, we're going to be talking about sentence variety and rhythm. Have you ever read over your writing and thought that everything sounded a bit flat and boring? Likely, a large part of that is a lack of variety and rhythm in your sentences. Using strong variety and rhythm effectively will make your writing engaging and persuasive. This workshop will teach you the key concepts to create effective sentence variety and rhythm in your writing. Let's get started. You can think of sentence variety and rhythm as the melody of writing. Variety and rhythm develop the melody of your writing, determine the pace of reading, emphasize certain points and connections, and create an atmosphere. You can create subtle and complex effects merely by varying the length and complexity of sentences. Conversely, without variety and rhythm, your writing will sound bland and repetitive. Let's look at an example. This sentence has 5 words. Here are 5 more words. 5-word sentences are fine. Several together, though, become monotonous. Listen to what is happening. The writing is getting boring. The sound of it drones. It's like a stuck record. The ear demands some variety. This is an example of bad rhythm. Almost every sentence in this short passage has 5 words, giving a flat and repetitive tone. Every sentence is also an independent clause, and there are no dependent clauses. If you don't know what either of those means, we'll go over them later in the workshop. Just know for now that there's no sentence variety. We can take a look at an example of good rhythm. Now listen. I vary the sentence length and I create music. The writing sings. There is a rhythm and harmony to it, which are pleasing to the ear. I use short sentences. I also use sentences of medium length. Sometimes, when I am certain my readers are rested, I will engage them with a sentence of considerable length, one that burns with energy and builds with all the drive of a crescendo. The sound of the sentence say, "Listen to this. It is important." Notice with this example that sentence length is varied, and the writer uses a mix of both dependent and independent clauses. The writer also combines sentences together using punctuation. In other words, the writer uses variety to make their writing come alive. The latter example uses 2 concepts that we'll look at for the rest of the workshop: varying sentence length and using different levels of complexity. You'll also have a chance to put these principles into practice. The first thing to understand about sentence length is that different lengths have different effects. Short sentences quicken the pace, make your writing snappy, reveal the main idea quickly, provide emphasis, and impart importance. Longer sentences slow the pace down, give your reader time to digest the information, present multiple or complicated topics, offer explanations, and present in-depth information. We can practice on this short activity. Transform the lengthy sentence into 2 shorter sentences. Honeybee populations, which account for 80% of pollination worldwide, are in danger due to multiple risk factors, including climate change, anthropogenic habitat loss, and parasitic infections like Varroa destructor mites. You can pause the video now. There are multiple ways to revise this sentence. One possible revision is, honeybee populations account for 80% of pollination worldwide. However, they are in danger due to multiple risk factors, including climate change, anthropogenic habitat loss, and parasitic infections like Varroa destructor mites. Pollination levels and risk factors are 2 different topics, so the writer split them into 2 separate sentences. While the original sentence is slow and clunky, this revision is quick and efficient. Our second concept is varying the complexity of our sentences. We can achieve this through 2 techniques: punctuation and using different sentence types. Intentional punctuation can make your reader slow down or speed up for effect. And different sentences can affect your reader's pacing and create variety in your writing. The 5 punctuation choices we'll look at are periods, commas, semicolons, colons, and dashes. Periods create full stops. They are the most common punctuation type. The scientist was an expert in neochemistry, period. She was working to publish her breakthrough experiment, period. Commas connect ideas but allow your reader to pause. For example, the scientist was an expert in biology, comma, and she was working to publish her breakthrough experiment. Notice how the comma here is paired with the word and to combine the two sentences. Semicolons create more substantial pauses between two closely related sentences. Use the semicolon when you want to join together two complete sentences that are related to each other. For an example, we have, the scientist was an expert in neurochemistry, semicolon. She was working to publish her breakthrough experiment. Colons introduce information like lists or quotes. Here we have, the teacher had too much to do today, colon, grade assignments, develop lesson plans, and organize a field trip. Dashes emphasize whatever is placed within them and slow the reader down. Example, the scientist, an expert in neurochemistry, was working to publish her breakthrough experiment. Notice that the dashes surround the extra information on both sides. Another way to adjust the complexity of your sentences is to mix up the four sentence types: simple, compound, complex, and compound complex. But to do that, we must first distinguish between independent and dependent clauses. Independent clauses can be sentences by themselves, and dependent clauses cannot. An example of an independent clause is, I went to the store. And an example of a dependent clause is, when I bought some rice. This clause is dependent because of the subordinator when. Subordinators include words like since, because, and although. There are too many to list right now, but pay careful attention when you use subordinators. This distinction is important because the four sentence types use varying combinations of independent and dependent clauses. The first sentence type we'll talk about is the simple sentence, which has only one independent clause. For example, sunshine increases vitamin D levels. The second sentence type is the compound sentence, which contains two related independent clauses. Sun exposure has been shown to affect vitamin D levels, and some doctors use it as a treatment method. The third type is the complex sentence, which has one independent clause and one or more dependent clauses. An example sentence is, because sun exposure increases vitamin D levels, some doctors use it as a treatment method. The dependent clause is, because sun exposure increases vitamin D levels. The independent clause is, some doctors use it as a treatment method. The final type of sentence is a compound complex sentence, which has two or more independent clauses and one or more dependent clauses. For example, because sun exposure increases vitamin D levels, some doctors use it as a treatment method, and the results have been positive. Take some time to determine which clauses are independent and which are dependent. In this example, we have one dependent clause, because sun exposure increases vitamin D levels. Then we have two independent clauses. Some doctors use it as a treatment method, and the results have been positive. Identifying independent and dependent clauses can improve your writing. You will know how to punctuate and vary the length of your sentences. So now that we've gone over some ways to vary your sentence length and complexity, let's put those concepts into practice. The paragraph below is awkward and clunky. Read and edit the following paragraph. Try to adjust the complexity of the sentences by using intentional punctuation and the four sentence types we discussed earlier. Pause the video now. Okay, now that you've done the necessary edits, let's look at a possible revision. Single-source documentation has many benefits. It speeds development time, cuts costs, and helps maintain consistency across the documentation set. Most importantly, it uses the same information to create documents for printed and online delivery methods. You might create a printed manual in FrameMaker, and you might then convert that document into an online help file and HTML for a website. The first change is that the writer grouped together all the benefits of single-source documentation into a list that is introduced by a colon. The second change is the use of a transition phrase that directs the reader's attention to an important piece of information. Finally, the writer combines similar ideas, like converting the document into an online file or an HTML, into a single sentence using AND. Thank you all for watching this video on sentence variety and rhythm. We've learned how to vary our sentence types and lengths and why they're important to our writing. For other writing needs, you can check out our other videos. We also have a writing blog called The Right Attitude. And don't forget to follow us on all our socials. Happy writing!